Hello and welcome to ETPFSI. This is Ishan Shah, and today we have with us Mihir Vora from Max Life Insurance. Welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me here.
Sir, a lot of things have happened due to this COVID-led disruption, lockdowns, followed by another lockdowns. Economic activities have been disrupted. We saw the FM came out with an announcement of the 20 lakh crore rupees package. While it's a mix of actual fiscal stimulus plus some tweaks in the rules and procedures of how different ministries and bodies could function going ahead. While we also saw that RBI governor came out with another line of measurements extending the moratorium. Just want to understand how do you read all of these packages and the announcements done by the FM and the RBI governor, because a lot of concern is there that these measures are good in the long run, but the immediate demand effect is very difficult to be seen in that sense. So just wanted to understand what are your readings on these packages.
I think you already had half the answer in your question, and you're very right that the whole the whole idea of a lockdown is to stop people from meeting each other, stop interactions, stop traveling, which means basically shutting down the
Hmm.
economic activity. So when you're talking about lockdown of this scale, which has never been done before in our living memory, so to say, it means that you are talking about maybe a 50% drop in economic activity for 2 or 3 months.
Hmm.
Now, if you look at our economic size, it's about to say 200 lakh crores, give or take a ballpark number. And when you're talking about a 50% drop in economy for three
Hmm.
months, you're talking about a loss of almost 20 lakh crores of gross domestic product activity, GDP activity. That kind of shock is very difficult for businesses to take. So what we need is not necessarily only a liquidity solution, a credit solution, but we need a fiscal solution. The package that the FM announced, and it was very welcome. It does target and address the right areas, MSME, farmers, workers, etc. But it's more in the form of liquidity cushion. It's more in the form of credit cushion. There is very little in the form of direct fiscal cushion where you put money into the hand of the individual or a business for him to survive for the next 2 to 3 months. If you compare it with the response in, say, Japan,
Hmm.
Singapore, China, US, Europe, they have actually put money into the hands of workers, put money into the hand of even small businesses, so that at least the next 2, 3, 4 months, whatever the economic activity slowdown is there, they are able to survive. So that's actually the need of the hour, and that's why probably the markets are a little bit disappointed.
So the concern between the if giving out money directly into the hands of the people, while we need that kind of demand to go up and economic activities to revive, but there are concerns of rising inflation as well. So that's a fine line which the authorities have to balance. In that sense, what could be a proper solution over here from from that perspective?
So look, the buffer for us is that globally we are flush with liquidity. This is unprecedented kind of money printing that is going around in the globe. So in spite of the fact that emerging markets are seeing, say, outflows from FIIs, etc., you are seeing a lot of money printing happening even in the emerging markets. The currency impact is not so much. If you see the rupee, in
Hmm.
spite of FII outflows, the rupee is pretty stable. So the
Hmm.
thing is that if at all we want to go out and borrow to meet our fiscal needs, borrow in the
Hmm.
international markets, I don't think there would be a that much of a problem. I think that's an experiment which probably has not been done before. But if a country of India's size and quality goes out and borrows in the global markets, there is enough money available today because today
Hmm.
the whole world is flush with liquidity.
Coming back to the Indian economy in that sense, the major heavy lifting is being done by the banks, and they have not been getting the additional sort of guarantee support, if I can term it right, because there's a lot of risk aversion happening. The NBFCs are to some extent to quite a lot of extent dependent on banks. So if the liquidity is stuck with them, what are the solutions over there? Because they are still risk averse, and because nobody knows where do I lend my money and where will it end up. It might turn up into an NPA without the back door is also being closed in that sense.
So it will require direct or indirect government infusion of money.
Hmm.
For example, this credit guarantee for MSMEs that's been talked about. That's one very good way of doing it, because at least it ensure that 3 lakh crores worth of credit sooner or later, in due course, depending on how easy the process is, will find its way in terms of extra credit to the MSMEs. But however, it does not change the balance sheet or P&L picture of the MSME. It just gives him a few months of more credit. A,
Hmm.
a small business which is running fixed costs in terms of labor's cost, rentals, base charges for electricity, property taxes, etc., can has very wafer thin margins. So to expect them to work at 50% capacity or 0% capacity for 4 5 months, bearing expenses, it's a large and permanent damage to his balance sheet and P&L. What
Hmm.
the MSME package does is it gives him liquidity for 3 more months, but even after the 3 4 months, he still has to service a higher amount of loan. When we are talking about a 20% top up, it means that he'll have to pay a higher amount of loan 6 months down the line, which still makes him weaker than before. So what
Hmm.
we need is some kind of a subsidy there. So sooner or later, the government will have to start underwriting risk in the business system.
Amidst this, the FM package announced the RBI government policies, the sectoral impacts. The how is the shift in your investment strategy at Max Life?
So we've kind of had two phases this year. If I were to summarize the financial year,
Hmm.
three phases rather. We started off by betting a little bit on the revival story in the very beginning of the year. Things were still slow, but we were hoping that consumption will continue to do well, etc. So we were kind of positioned a bit neutral to a bit defensive. In September, after the corporate tax cuts, we started believing that probably now a lot of FDI and FPI money will start pouring into the country, not only for setting up new capacity in manufacturing, but also in terms of the privatization plays like we have in the couple of big names that are out for privatization. So we kind of became a bit more positive on the cyclical as well as the structural view, and we kind of maintained that view till about December January. Uh, Post December January, what we saw was that the traction in capex pickup from global players was not coming as rapidly or as actively as we thought, in spite of the very attractive corporate tax cuts. And secondly, the privatization process was likely to take a bit longer than what we expected. So the markets were starting to kind of wobble a little. In January middle, it started becoming more and more apparent that this COVID spread in China and then rapidly to rest of Asia was probably something to be taken care of or taken note of more seriously than what we were thinking. So when we saw metals prices starting to come down, and we got all those indicators that things are really slowing down sharply in China, especially in February, we started becoming more defensive, and we reduced a lot of global cyclicals like metals, energy, oil and gas, those kind of names, which are
Hmm.
commodity driven, more driven by global and especially China growth rate. So we reduced the cyclical aspects there. And we also became a bit more defensive on India because we thought that we took the view that ultimately that slowdown will also percolate into India at some point in time. So from February, we started becoming, from the early part of February, we started becoming more defensive. And some of the pro-cyclical plays that we had built up both for the domestic as well as local global economy, we started reducing, and we also generated a lot more cash. Uh, so essentially, we sold or we went underweight on financials by February, March. We kind of reduced financials because they are the most pro-cyclical, and
Hmm.
some of them, as we know, were priced to perfection also in the euphoria of the previous year. So financials going underweight is one big bet we took. And we also then switched more to the cash flow oriented businesses like FMCG, pharmaceuticals. In the last 1 month, what we have done is we have started increasing exposure to IT because it
Hmm.
looks like the Indian economy will rebound a lot slower than the US, for example, where the biggest IT demand is. So, pharma, IT, FMCG is where we have turned more positive on, and even telecom, given the structural changes happening in the sector locally. Financials, capex linked stories, industrials, and even to some extent consumer discretionary. we are underweight on, and we are sitting on a bit more cash than usual.
Going ahead, how do you see the RBI governor's statement, like the repo rate cut of 40 basis points, and we see that the reverse repo rate of 3.25 is almost to the levels of the last financial crisis. So, just trying to understand, how do you see the RBI's actions over here, and what more can be done in that sense?
I must say RBI has done a commendable job, and the language and the statements by the governor show that they understand the gravity of the situation. So I would say that so far a lot of the heavy lifting has been done by the RBI, and I think they will continue to provide support in terms of liquidity and other measures to not only the financial markets overall, the credit markets overall, but even in terms of the banking system and NBFC. So I think is now coming around to the view that things are really serious, and we should expect more and more support from the RBI. I must say they have done a lot of what they should have done and could have done.
Okay. As a CIO, while you did mention that a few months back you went underweight on the financial services, uh, but at the moment, how do you see the NBFC space? Because they are stuck between both the ends of the moratorium. Like on one side, they are getting on a case-to-case basis, while on the second side, they have to provide it compulsory to any customer who asks for it. So, if I just ask you from a bird's eye view, how do you see the NBFC space right now?
So in the NBFC space, if you include housing finance also as part of
Yes,
NBFC,
yes.
things will continue to be polarized. So there'll be the top two, three, four names which are large in size, diversified portfolio, more retail oriented, that will continue to be perceived as the safe bets that they always have been. So funding for them will not only become easier but cheaper also, because the transmission of the RBI rate cuts, etc., will happen. On the other hand, the places or the NBFCs which are perceived to be risky will continue to face rollover issues and funding problems. So this polarization in the NBFCs, both in terms of the verticals like housing versus the others, and in terms of size, where the big ones with the reputed groups, etc., will continue to gain a disproportionate amount of market share. I think that trend will continue. So you really need to solve the problem of the second tier and the smaller NBFCs for things to really get going. And that to a great extent again is compounded by the fact that not only do you have MSME under pressure now in the last 2 to 3 months, but real estate, which also has been a problem earlier, will only get worse as we go forward. And third, even the retail piece, where it's considered to be a safe haven kind of a place, where typically the white collar jobs, salaried and even self-employed segments, if you have a granular enough portfolio, it was doing quite well. But with the kind of projected job losses or likely job losses in the next quarter or so, even the retail segment where there was so much safety may come under some kind of pressure. So in general, the second and third tier NBFCs are still in a bit of a problem.
Okay, okay. One last question. Going forward, how do you see that? Where are the more rooms of announcement coming in? What are the other things that are needed to kickstart, or maybe kickstart would be a broader term over here. But what are the other measures that the FM and the RBI can use to start off to sort of revive the economy in the coming quarters?
As I said, much more direct fiscal intervention will be required for the workers, for small businesses, for them to survive. And I think that's something that will become more and more apparent as time passes, because you are seeing small industry associations and all beginning to talk about what kind of stress specific segments are kind of facing, and that will add up over a period of time. So saving the worker with their salaries, job losses, and the smaller businesses is something that is likely to take a lot more fiscal initiative in the coming months, and probably that's where we may come around to.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for those great insights. Thank you so much for having us on the show.